Alright, welcome to episode 33. Yeah, I got it wrong last time. It was episode 32 last time. Today's episode is episode 33. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting. As I teased in the last episode, America is going to be divided up between colonial powers. In today's episode, I don't really know who else would get any. Because I think if you got any of America, you'd instantly become a colonial power. Anyway, yeah, should probably get around to that. I think I'm going to start off with this. So, a conference will be held within... Where do they want to hold a conference? To divide up all of America. I think let's say the Oslo Conference. So, all the countries who own territory within America gather together in the capital of the Norwegian country, which is effectively Oslo, and work together to divide up this massive couple of continents. So, let's do that then. Which countries are going to make a move first? I don't know. Let's start with South America because it's less filled. It's going to be a bit easier. And then we can ease ourselves into the rest of the division. So the blue country will make their first move, and they claim and will receive all of this territory. It's not a huge load, but they kind of don't really care about the rest of the continent. You know, they don't care as much about this. They're kind of just like, right, let's get this over with. I want that bit. Let's just take that bit then. So the blue country will be allowed to annex this relatively small amount of territory. However, the Istrians do want a lot of this stuff to the east of that area. But yeah, this looks to be the end of expansion, at least for the moment. I don't know, this place might get independence one day and do some stuff for this blue team colony. So yeah, there we go. It's been around for a while. It's made them, it's not a bad investment. They've made a sufficient amount of money off of it. Anyway, next up we have the Istrian country down here. Also, just to point something out, the reason why they're called the Istrian country is because their capital is right here in Istria. I don't know, I feel like I didn't mention that, so I'm going to put that out there. Now, this area that I'm drawing, let's just, damn it, this bit over here is Istria. So that's why they're called the Istrian country, if there was any uncertainty about that. And they will be taking another reasonably... It's not the biggest amount of land seen in this. Over here, to be honest, I'm kind of realizing I don't entirely like the blue team borders now, which is a problem. And they will be able to receive this. The Catalonian country is alright in letting them have this. Kinda, yeah, it's fine. I also destroyed a couple of lakes there, but it doesn't really matter. So that is their colony now. It's a relatively large mountainous place. There's not a whole load of people down here in Patagonia, but oh well. And beyond that, we shall be moving northwards to the Grenadian country. They are going to take another pretty hefty area of sort of Brazilian area. That was my mum. And then it's just going to cause the rest of these powers to finish off their claims for this continent. So the Catalonian country will take this southern sort of territory, and then just go up to here, and the remainder of the continent will go to the Brazilian colony. So let's just once again get up the colours for Grenada and the Iberian country. I just never know what to call these guys. So Grenada 73. Hopefully we shouldn't have to do this much more, because a lot less of the world is going to be open for the taking in the future. Yeah, the world is habitable, just easy to take land. It's rapidly disappearing, so it won't be that long until we have no episodes where they're expanding into unclaimed territory. It's just going to be pretty much constant war, so that's a good thing for the world, right guys? Not sure about that. And there is the Grenadan colony. It's become a relatively large, like, yeah, It's quite a nice colony, I'd say. They've got lots of other islands. My god. Yeah, they've got quite a lot of islands in the Caribbean. They've got all of Cuba, Southern Bahamas, this island, Trinidad and Tobago, that random island, and probably those Dutch ones, like Curacao, I want to say, Aruba, and Sint Maarten. That actually might be up here, but oh well, they've probably also got Sint Maarten. So, that doesn't really matter. The Catalonian country will be finishing off their South American claim, which has become pretty nice, sort of Chilean, Bolivian, Peruvian colony. I don't know, just those sorts of areas. Also, possibly all of Paraguay, that might be also under their thing. But yeah, I'd say by a long shot, the Purple Team's colony is the strongest in South America. I think that also puts these guys, I don't know, they might now be, because we have the Indian country, look, Indian country in the #1 position, followed by the British country, and then after that, I have before said it was Terracotta Nation, but I think by now the Iberian country has probably taken over and the #3 spot, and Terracotta is now 4th. Following that, probably the Koreans actually, yeah, probably Korea. Then after that, maybe Ireland, France, China somewhere, but they don't have many colonies. They have the Philippines. Also, this is a treaty thing, so they've drawn out these borders, and then they've gone, oh, I don't quite like how these borders look, so I'm going to try and fix some of these problems, because otherwise it's really going to get on my nerves. So the first dispute is down in the south here, over this sort of pointy bit between the Istrian and the blue country. This is definitely not me just trying to make these borders look nice, because they are going to remain for a pretty long time. So the Istrians will take this bit, and the blue team don't really get anything, but they're alright with that, really. It's almost not gonna yeah, it looks okay. Our next up bit is between the Granadan and the purple team country. So the purple team will be allowed to annex a slight bit of the Amazonian rainforest around here from the Granadan country, and most of this river really. However, the Granadan country is allowed free access around that river, so, you know, they can trade along it and stuff. And there wasn't really anything important within this area, because it was recently annexed, and not that explored really, so, yeah, you know, they didn't really find anything. And it was like, oh, well, we really need to keep this. So they're okay with letting that go to the purple country. Beyond that, the purple country will give up a bit of land to the Catalonian country over in this bit, and that might do it for me fixing the South American continent. At least I hope so. I might just find loads of issues with this anyway, but I'll probably grow to like it more in the future as I have to look at it more. So there we go. There are our new borders to South America. Let's head up north to the North American continent. The first country to claim some stuff here will be the Norwegian country. I mean, it is their conference treaty thing. Yeah, people are just like, yeah, fine, you take this. Nobody really cares. The Norwegians are able to annex most of these islands over here. The only real ones that are disputed are over in the western area, because this Scalinese country is kind of like, yeah, we might like some of that island. So they hold off on capturing all of those islands. Beyond that, the next country to make a move will be the Irish country. So they will head along here. So the Irish will head kind of parallel to the British colony, and they're going to continue up this sort of Hudson coastal area until they arrive up here, where they decide to finish off their colony and go, right, that's okay. The British country will do theirs pretty close to this. So they're going to be annexing all of the southern territory of the Irish colony, all the way up into Canada, I would say. But a lot of these borders are pretty connected, so it's going to be relatively tricky over here. So the British will take all of that. The French country will move up north of their Mexican area. As you can see, the Terracotta Nation is keeping to their vow to not colonize this anymore. As you know, the territory they could have expanded into has now disappeared. The Koreans are going to take the remainder of this central area and add that to their colony to make a really large Korean empire, I think. So that now exists. The French will also just kind of be allowed to take a tiny bit more from this. And yeah, we'll have to draw this out to see how this looks, because we might have to fix a couple of things. I'm not entirely sure how great this is going to look. That's most of these countries' claims in this area. So that is Ireland. That looks pretty good, I would say. Yeah. Looks alright. It's mainly just this bit that's kind of might become a problem. The British are next. I hope the British and Korean claims don't look too bad on a map. They may, and I don't know how I feel about that. They are both red countries, and they've ended up connecting within America, so we'll have to see. I mean, it doesn't look too bad how I'm looking at it, but I don't really know before anyone else looking at it. The Mexicans will move. Mexicans? No, not really Mexican. The French will move next into the north, like New Mexico, Texas. I know the states are around here. Area, and that's them really. This new government has been doing pretty well in making its people happy at the moment. They've secured a lot of new territory, and nothing's really gone that badly for them. The Japanese will fill in their relatively small amount of stuff, but also people don't really like them. So when the Japanese claimed a lot of things, they were like, no, you don't get that, because I don't like you. So yeah, it's not all nice here. The Koreans somehow managed to get away with taking this really large load of land. Their colony is big, but this has definitely doubled it, I would say. So yeah, it's slightly strange looking. But there you go, I think that looks alright. You know what? The Irish and the British will have a pretty major land exchange. Well, not really exchange, it's more just like the British give the Irish a lot of stuff. So the Irish leader, who turns out to be an absolute master diplomat, will manage to get the British, in return for loads of money, to cede this pretty huge area of stuff to the Irish Empire. So there we go. We've now got access to the Great Lakes. I mean, they probably already had that. I'd imagine the British were just like, yeah, it's alright, you use our lakes. But who knows. The British are going to keep their city they have down there low. So the Irish are going to be taking that. And I think that looks better. I quite like that. And now there's just this entire northern area to divide up, which is going to be pretty easy. You know, this land isn't immensely valuable. So these countries are kind of alright, although everyone else is kind of alright with letting them have most of this. Except for the Koreans, who manage to also have a leader very much like the Irish one, who turns out to be a master diplomat. Just didn't learn anything else except how to be extremely diplomatic, and he's taken some of the land that was claimed by the Civilisation and the Norwegians. So yeah, it's just next level diplomacy. Sakhalin will make their claim at about the same time as the Norwegians. It's kind of funny though, because these guys are so far apart on the map, yet they've both managed to end up winding around here in America in colonization. So it's kind of funny. The Civilisation claim will look something like this, and the Norwegians will be allowed to take everything else, which is a lot of stuff. And we'll decide on these islands in a second. And yeah, so the Treaty of the Americas will be coming to a close pretty soon. That's the Norwegians. There we go. Boom. The Norwegians are allowed to take this large island, and this one over here, and all these pretty small ones. Well, when this place gets independence, I'm going to have to colour in so many islands. It's going to be so painful. And Scarlin will take the remainder of this North American stuff. They're not really Civilisation, but I just like calling them Civilisation, I suppose. Boom, boom. They take that island, and the Norwegians will be allowed to take that one's slightly north of it, but these colonies did really want a northwestern island. They managed to secure that. So, yeah, I'm not finished though. I just realised there's one tiny bit left. As if you take a really close inspection of the Caribbean and look at the Lesser Antilles, these islands aren't all captured also. This isn't the Terracotta Nation taking some islands, they just own that island already. So don't worry. But there are two more island areas, this bit and this bit, unclaimed. So two countries are going to come in and swoop up these territories. Those two countries being one country who hasn't moved at all during this treaty, that being the Bretons. They will take this area, and another country, a South American state this time, who has definitely moved a lot, that being the Catalonian country. So both these island areas are split up, and here are our new borders of America. This has been a crazy journey. It's been so long since they discovered America, and finally it's all colonized in. I just don't like that Catalonian colony. It's really annoying. But yeah, otherwise it looks pretty cool, and it might stay like this for a while. I don't know how long each of these countries are going to maintain these claims. There might be some wars between certain countries, and eventually they'll all get independence. Well, maybe not all of them. Norway might own Greenland for quite a long time, but we'll see. Anyway, we're going to stick with one of these countries, that being Sakhalin, as they have further advancements to make up in this northern eastern area of Russia, as they plan to connect their entire Kamchatkan East Russian colony along with the central area of their country, the main area of it. In which they succeed, they get people to explore all this stuff which was already explored, but they force some people to go settle it. And now they are one of the largest countries in the world. Think about the Sakha Republic, I think is somewhere up here, which is a division of the Russian country, like real life Russia. And they also plan to move a bit more later. However, some of these other countries would like to get in before the two Russian superpowers, the Sakhalinese and the Brown Team country, move in and finish off this entire area. And one of these countries hopes to achieve more of that, because the country isn't entirely in support of this, by going to war. And this country is the Baikal Nation. Now they're pretty powerful, however they don't have the same land as everyone else, and it's kind of been hurting them. Their economic growth hasn't been as massive, so them and a couple friends, these two guys down south, will be declaring war on this vibrant green country. So let's get this started. Initially their allies aren't really going to help out, so the greenish country will actually be able to make a push towards the Lake Baikal and capture one of the major cities of this country. However, eventually a front line sort of sets in and kind of just stops over here. These guys are having trouble getting their forces to go up here, and there's really not much in this area, so these guys there's one city in this entire country. I think that's slightly unrealistic, but who cares? The bright green nation, will manage to capture another major city as they continue their advancement along the coast of Lake Baikal, and become parallel to the capital of the Baikal nation. However, the reddish southern country has made a huge push up further north, and they got pretty close to capturing one of these capitals, or major cities, which they managed to succeed, and they're now trying to spearhead towards the front line of the Baikal nation. The brown one will come up from the south, and Baikal will manage to make a push in their capital area, sending people from around Lake Baikal, which is their most populated area, into the northern areas of their country to try and get rid of all these troops who are occupying that area. However, the major city that they occupied beforehand is still being held by the vibrant green country. A southern area will be captured, and now they're kind of threatening the capital of this country. So Baikal will manage to make a push in the north, and they begin to take huge swathes of this territory as they reach in further south, and these troops are forced to leave this fleet to this major city, where they plan to try and hold out and push back the advancing armies. So Baikal will manage to retake that area of their country. These people are not very happy with how that went. But that's what happens when you have your capital, one of those major cities, right next to the border of another country. Unfortunately, the new troops will not be able to stop these countries. There's a lot of Chinese people who've moved into this brown country because, there's a lot of Chinese people. They've gone to the brown country because land is extremely cheap there. It's basically Mongolia. Land is very cheap, and you can take loads and loads and loads of it for a really low price and put lots of animals in this really scrubby sort of territory. But it's an alright way to make money. I think you could own land in China that you've inherited, because land in this basic entire area is pretty cheap. Finally, the forces managed to push back here. However, in the south... Wait a minute. I just not realize this is entire... No, I'm just stupid. People in the south managed to free this southern area, but it's not really going to save them, as this war manages to push forward, and they take more and more territory, until the vibrant green country decides to agree to a peace treaty. So let's have a look at how that goes. I'm not sure. Back button, stop failing me. We obviously know some of these territories getting annexed. The brown country will take some of this southern stuff. The red country will take more of this stuff, as well as this major city. Yeah, these guys just failed to annex another major city for themselves. The Baikal nation will take more of this northern stuff, as well as territory to connect this area. But, yeah, I spotted. Probably. They didn't entirely win this war, and they possibly might not have won it. They probably would have. But there were thoughts within the Grey Country, the one to the east of the Baikal nation, maybe they should join this war. Or even in China, that it might not be a bad idea to just actually take some of this land, which they effectively own, within these other countries. And they're just buying up other people's territory, which is actually happening in modern day, but oh well. Not really, oh well. It's kind of worrying. Anyway, so the Red Country actually was in a war last time, and a war this time. They're going to be annexing even more territory to the south today, because I did also mention we're finishing off Central Asia and just doing some other stuff in Russia at the moment before we arrive there. Also, let's just... Okay. Yeah, the vibrant green country are allowed to keep this bit. That's alright. You can keep that bit after losing basically everything else. So, there's them and the brownish country. I can't really remember which colour they were. Where are you guys? They're a brownish country. I don't even remember who gave them independence. It was like a group who broke away from some people. Was that the red team? I don't have a clue. What were these guys doing? What have they been doing this entire time? I don't have a clue. Some darker shade of brown, I know that much. But I have no clue what I've been doing this entire time. Not much, it seems. Open selection brown to 70, that's what I've got written up somewhere. I don't really label these countries very well, which is kind of prevalent. That's a different brown country. Damn it. Damn it. Dark yellow to 70. Sounds promising. Ah, I do remember now. There we go. So, there's this disgusting sludgy colour. And there we go. So there are our new borders of Central Asia. At least for the moment, because it's about to rapidly change, but oh well. So a couple of these countries will make a final move up. Well, possibly not final. I'm not sure how far we're going to get in Asia in today's episode. But the Baikal nation would really like to grab a lot of territory before other people start to take away that stuff. The grey country will follow suit. This is probably more territory that they can really take. However, yeah, that is kind of true, as the brown country will end up losing a sufficient amount of this stuff because people just don't want to live up there. The Baikal nation is kind of more southern than that. There's some deserty Mongol areas within their country, and yeah, they're kind of like the north. But now this puts Lake Baikal, the nation, as once again one of the strongest Central Asian countries. So you count like China and all those other ones which are most powerful. But there you go. That's them for the moment. The greyish country, still not that strong, but they are kind of getting up there because there's more trade routes that head to Sakhalin now. And to get to Sakhalin, you have to go through these guys. To get to Sakhalin, you have to go through me. No, I need to stop. But that's just what came to my head. And there we go. So that's them. They're kind of becoming more powerful, and they have similar. They're an oddity in this area, in that instead of following, if we look at the religion map, which doesn't exist, but if we think about it existing, the green team religion is currently followed by the green team, this shoe-looking nation, this one down here, this dark green nation, the gold country, all of these ones over here, the brown country, surprisingly enough, and lots of the southern people in the grey country, although some of them also follow the pagan religion, but there's kind of a split, but they're alright with that because the grey country is kind of chill. And those are the countries that follow the true green team religion. So it's basically well, something. Don't worry about that. Something like this, as the sphere of the actual green team religion, and all of these countries over here follow a different rendition of the green team religion, which is slightly changed. They've got slightly different gods, different mythological stories. It's relatively similar, however, there are some key differences, except for in the grey country, where they actually follow the same true green team religion, and there's no real reason why. Yeah, anyway, let's get down to dividing up the remainder of this country, area, Russia. Nice. So Russia, the Sakhalinese country, will make a final move westwards. This is a lot of territory they're adding in one episode, whilst the remainder of this land will be going over to the brown country. The brown country started off this series as some random insignificant Caucasian state that wasn't that insignificant. In fact, they were top 10 for a lot of this, but by the end of episode 1, they were basically just a load of mountains. And now, in some really a turn of fate that you did not expect, I can guarantee you, when you discover the brown team, you did not go, I bet these guys are going to become a Russian superpower. And any of you say you did, don't lie to me. Yeah, now they are absolutely massive. They control a large amount of what is modern day Russia. It's kind of like Russia if they lose a big war. You know, let's have a look at this Asian stuff. Oh my god. The brown country is ginormous. They are now, well, they're going to become what is a top 10 country. In the following episodes, they are terrifying. There's so many people being pulled into this country. Also, look at the Civilisation country. Their borders look so nice. I'm sorry, I'm just also kind of like, yes, I do good borders. Nice. But yeah, let's finish off the rest of Asia. Why not? Let's do that. So I'm sorry this episode isn't that eventful in terms of war. It's mostly like, let's go have a lot of countries take stuff. But, you know, had to happen. And now there's not going to be many more episodes where that really happens at all. So the reddish country is going to be taking a lot of this stuff because they're very recently down here. The lime team will take a bit of this northern territory. Just like a tiny bit of Himalayan mountains, I suppose. The green country will take a bit over here. And the remainder of this will go to the red country. So let's draw that out. Lime 270. And bright red. The reddish country is a religion of their own, really. They kind of looked at the lime team religion and went, how will we make it different? So this religion, it's incredibly similar in that they've got lots and lots of gods, like the lime team religion, the pagan religion, and the Eastern, whatever it's called. The one that these guys follow, there's lots of gods in this one. There's more gods. In this one there's probably like, not that many. It's not a huge pantheon for those guys, but the pagan one and the lime team one especially, there's a lot of gods. These guys, they've got that sort of thing, but it's more like these people's, their gods more like aspects of stuff. So, there's just a lot of gods that are things that people kind of just, there's all these different gods for different emotions and different parts of the body, like natural things like rivers and stuff. I mean, most religions have things like that, but they're more spiritual and just things like that. Also, there's lots of monsters in their religion, just because people thought there were monsters in Central Asia, which there weren't. Unfortunately, that would be a huge twist. They just discovered loads of dragons in Central Asia. So they give a series like that. Where there's magic. That would be quite a cool one. The Chinese will obviously be taking a pretty hefty chunk of this territory, but it's not loads, because they also want their allies to get some. So the dark bluish grey country will take some land. The orange team will take a pretty pitiful amount of land. The blue country will close in around some of this territory. Brown team's not really going to be annexing much. The blue country will get like a tiny bit. I'm not sure it's really worth getting them any. The brown team, it's kind of split. The entire democracy thing is a bit like, hey, we took land last time. Should we spend a load of money on getting some land? I don't know, man. Maybe not. The red country will be happy to take the remainder of this. And also I just realized something I should have pointed out beforehand. Both of these major land grab things that have happened in today's episode, or recently at least. It's like the Russian one happened in the capital of the Russian country, where the Baikal nation, the Grey nation, the Sakhalinese, and the Brown Russian country divided up the entirety of Russia. The division of Central Asia occurred within the capital of the Red country, which is kind of how they managed to get so much land for themselves. Like they're pretty huge now. And of course, the American one occurred in Oslo. So this is kind of Moscow. Anyway, the bluish country will be taking a bit more. These guys have definitely expanded across the past few episodes, because they attacked that yellowish country and really just missed out. They could have had quite a lot of land, but they were unfortunate and they got none. So you win some, you lose some. I don't think you're coming back because you're about the same coloured as the mustard country, and I didn't like the mustard. That mustard coloured country that was like influenced by the yellow team. They were around less than an entire episode. They didn't last a single episode. They were created and then immediately they got uncreated. Accidentally. I didn't mean to actually fully annex them into the Sludge Nation, but I did. So oops, they were the first nation to go. No. And now weird turtle looking country also disappeared. And I need to find these other Chinese countries. So there we go. Actually I found them pretty easily. But you know, an interesting thing to point out is that after basically all the land in the world was divided up, the world wars weren't too far behind. And now there's only 2 continents basically that don't have all the land taken. And those 2 continents are Oceania and Africa. So if I was you and I was a betting person, I'd make a bet. It might not be too long until those continents get divided up between some countries, just like they did in our timeline. How the Light Team might have more influence on this. You know, the Light Team really didn't do much in this treaty. Also, what's this land about? Oh yeah, I completely forgot. These guys were here. Also, for some reason, there's a massive hole in their borders. Why is that a thing? These guys are in pretty good relations, however they are both different cultures. I believe the bluish country follows the Lime Team religion. We should definitely have a look at religion. Yeah, these guys follow the Lime Team religion, whilst the orange one follows a different Chinese sort of religion, which is different to the Eastern one. Because these colonies kind of follow the same religion as the Baikal nation, Korea, China, and all of these Chinese nations. The people living in this area mostly, and Vietnam, all follow their own religion. Oh, and Japan. Yeah. Actually, no, I think probably Sakhalin, Korea, and Japan, and Kyushu. I'd say they all have their own religions, probably. As a Chinese religion, which is basically just all these countries. And probably there's brown one as well. I can't entirely remember where the brown one came from, but I think they were a Chinese rebellion. So I'm going to say they were. And there we go. Doesn't the world look a lot nicer? It looks really cool. I'm very pleased with this episode. And Baikal is pretty strong. Anyway, we have a few more expansion things we need to do. Sorry if this episode is basically just like not very interesting. I don't know what I was trying to really get at there. The Lime Team will expand their Australian colony a pretty large amount, as will the Terracotta country because they saved up a load of money. So yeah, like Sakhalin's probably like heavily in debt at the moment. They're just like neck deep in debt for the amount of expansion they've been doing over the past few episodes. But who would want to attack them anyway? Only like Japan. Basically just Japan actually, now that I think about it. Basically the Japanese, who don't like the Sakhalinese country. The Indian expansion in Southeast Asia is kind of... There's not an awful lot left of Southeast Asia for these guys to expand into. And now they're all the way in Papua New Guinea. But, yeah. The Lime Team are currently not very pleased. Because in that thing that happened today, what was it? Oh, in the division of Central Asia, the event took place within the capital of this reddish country, and the Lime Team, they weren't too quick to go in. We'll have it in our capital. So it ended up occurring here, and they didn't get as much land as they would have wanted. And you know, they're kind of like, dude, I was gonna have that. So they've decided they're going to take their anger out on a certain country, that being the yellowish country. So the Lime Team troops will pour into the yellow country. They were like, oh, we're just sending some military people to here, and then boom, we're sending those people spiraling all over. However, another country is going to be third party in this war. Well, not third party. are going to join the war, and interesting, on the same side as the Lime team, because the country joining this war is actually going to be the Brown team, who really still hates the Lime team. So these guys, going off the fact that all the Yellow team troops have been sent over here, it's really easy going for these guys. They managed to take this entire northern bit, a load of this eastern territory, they link up with the coast, and they even managed to capture the capital of the Yellow country. The Lime team make a push for their remaining major city, and the Brown team will take the rest, or capture the rest. The Lime team is obviously not going to let this thing go. They're like, well, this is our territory now. They just kind of had to take their anger out on somebody, so they decided, you know what, let's just have a wee little war with somebody, just because I'm a bit annoyed. Is somebody a bit annoyed? Oh, don't worry, we know how to remedy that. Just destroy an entire country. That's just kind of how the Lime team works. It is a cruel, not very nice country who bullies all their neighbours. People are getting increasingly terrified of the Lime team, as there was a group of people who went down to this yellowish beige country and said, you know what, we're also going to attack you. They were repelled, and the Lime team went, hey, we weren't telling them to do that, but also we kind of went, oh well, like those people didn't end up in the dungeons. It's just like, no, you naughty people, shouldn't have done that, but anyway, oh well, you did it anyway. What a shame. So, I'm being pretty in favour of just destroying their neighbours and annexing their territory. It's not a nice relationship the Lime team have with a lot of their neighbours, except for that kind of limeish coloured one, just north of them. They're also trying to influence these guys to follow the proper religion, being the Lime team one, because these guys have diverted slightly, and you know, they think these extra gods, it's not right, it shouldn't be there, and they don't like it really. So, that is the Lime team. They are now massive on this globe. They're absolutely huge. I think they almost definitely are the biggest country in the world. And I kind of want to leave it there. But I want to do one more thing before we finish off today's episode, being a French war. So the French country, inspired by the fact that everyone loves their country, is going to go to war with one of their neighbours, being this newly created Swiss country. And I'm just kind of, we don't really need to bother with this, I feel. You know what's going to happen already. It's a tiny Swiss country versus one of the strongest countries in the world. Yeah, so the French country will be annexing the Swiss nation. I don't know, they do kind of look quite French. That looks a bit like Alsace. And yeah, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. This episode may not have been the most eventful in terms of war. We had like a few. But it definitely was in terms of making the world look cool. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, because I enjoyed drawing out all these borders. And have a nice rest of your day. Subscribe.